here we have our Fallen Star non-spoiler review. And so I do want to mention I will get to recording a spoiler review. What that will do is it'll hit the points that I'm going to make here, but flesh them out with spoilery examples. And so here I promise not to give any kind of real plot details or anything away, just give my thoughts on what I think is the best book of the High Republic publishing initiative so far. It's one of my favorite books in Star Wars, frankly, and that's recentism, immediate reaction, but I really did love it. There is a syrupy kind of start, right? The characters are really shoring themselves up. Where how do they need to think about it? It felt a little bit like a self-help, and it raised this question: well, where's this going? If we're having this foundation, but then what follows is this masterclass on show and not tell. That's something I mentioned with regards to the Book of Boba Fett last week. In contrast, I was reading Fallen Star and seeing the way Claudia Gray was so easily and so skillfully able to express meaning through the characters' choices rather than exposition. It's a fundamental of storytelling, but it's something that is so hard to get, that Claudia Gray is such a master of. She has a very clear use, and Fallen Star has a very clear use of story to communicate themes, such as the arrogant short-sightedness of the Jedi, or the power of unity and hope through crisis that is ultimately shown by all involved. In contrast, I will say this much: in contrast to the Armorer, the response in this crisis is not to hunker down and defend the tribe, but to adapt and to grow and to learn how to work together. And one thing I mentioned a few weeks ago, I really appreciated how there are lots of moments where characters, they stop, they think about, we get into their minds, and their reflective thoughts, but they serve to connect back to those choices, and they're convincingly part of the character's own development. It's not really exposition. It's again, it's character development, and it helps us even reflect on what's happening in those choices in previous scenes. And again, it also greatly helps with our pace and the understanding of the story overall. And it makes for a much quieter, contemplative, if you believe it or not, quieter contemplative story than Light of the Jedi and The Rising Storm. And so I thought that just had a better pace and flow. It's also a masterclass of payoff and setup. And again, those might be kind of cliches, but the way Claudia Gray has the syrupy beginning carries them through this great crisis. And when that earlier setup comes together, it's what I would say is one of the most beautiful and lyrical moments in all of canon. I was reading it and I had to stop and tweet about it, because it was actually just that perfect and so well earned. And in that moment, it carries the character's story wonderfully to the end. This, my friends, is how you end a story. And yes, so that was my review. If you've read it, please share some non-spoilery thoughts in the comments. And look out for my spoiler review coming out sometime this week.